Okay, so meetings are approved. Any minutes, any announcements?
Good morning. This is Brooke Bell.
Okay.
I have a couple. I wanted to announce that Brian Green was recently promoted as our Deputy Director of our Operations. I'm not sure if everybody heard that, but we're excited to have him in that role. He will be responsible for parks, operations and maintenance, forestry, Osner, which is the reservoirs, the nature centers, the rangers, and open space. So we're very excited to have Brian in that position, and he's actively recruiting for the managers, the vacant manager positions under him. So, and then we are also actively recruiting for a deputy director of recreation and golf. And that is an ongoing effort right now. And as I know more about that, I'll share that. Additionally, I want to say thank you to staff that were involved with the open house at the Southeast Recreation Center last Saturday. We had over 1,000 residents or people come into the center between 8 a.m. and noon last Saturday. We had the radio station there. We had a lot of great activities. We're really working on marketing that center and increasing interest in that. We have 3 more open houses planned throughout the year. So it was a great job done by staff, and it was well received by the community. So thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you, staff. And no further announcements. We'll move to the agenda items. I think first we've got 4A, consideration to approve a resolution for an IGA between the city of Aurora, Arapahoe County for the Highline Canal Trail Underpass, intersection of East Colfax Avenue and North Laredo Street. And presenting on that.
Good morning, everyone. It's Nicole Ankeny, and I'm the manager of planning, design, and construction for PROS. And we're here this morning to present to you a resolution and intergovernmental agreement for the Highline Canal Underpass. We call that Colfax number 1 because there are 4 different potential crossings of Colfax Avenue. And so this is Colfax number 1. It is just east of Laredo. This project actually started several years ago when we partnered with the Highline Canal Conservancy and went through a process in which we did a study trying to determine which of the 7 potential roadway crossings would be the most viable for construction. This one came to the top of the list for construction, and we have partnered with Arapahoe County and Adams County, and were successful in a TIP application last year, a Federal Transportation Improvement Program funding that actually was part of the call for Arapahoe County of their sub-regional share. And so that fiscal year runs from 2024 through 2027. The application for that went in almost exactly a year ago. So we received the good news about last March, and we've been putting together the IGA and putting together the funding. So as you may have seen in your packet, we do have a cost share at 33% for the match, equal share with Arapahoe County, Adams County, as well as the city of Aurora. So we are pleased to present this to you today. Our contribution is about 800,000, and there we do have a little chart in the packet that shows the distribution when that's to occur. So we'll distribute the design, and then in 2025, then we'll go through right-of-way acquisition in 25 as well. Go down to utility relocation in 26, and then the last portion of our contribution for construction would be due in 2027. Overall, this project is approximately a $12 million project. So as you can imagine, the TIP funding on this is significant. for us. It really helps maximize, and I think it's a really great partnership. When we were going through this process, as Brooke can attest, we were, being very thoughtful, working across departments within the city of Aurora, also working with our partners at the county, trying to be as strategic as possible to ensure a successful outcome as a TIP recipient. So with that, the question before council is, does the council policy committee support moving forward for the resolution and intergovernmental agreement between Arapahoe County and the city of Aurora for the Highline Canal Underpass project at Colfax Avenue and east of Laredo Street to the February 12, 2024 study session? And I'm also happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Questions, Councilmember Murillo?
No questions. I think this is pretty straightforward. I remember when the team was getting input on different improvements. So it's exciting to see this kind of move along the process, and I think it's much needed. So I approve this moving forward.
Great. Councilmember Coombs?
Also no questions, but happy to see this finally coming to fruition, and so excited about just the connectivity that it's going to create for people in our different neighborhoods along that part of the Colfax corridor to connect with different recreational amenities, as well as, increasing the connectivity, safety and connectivity for the Highline across Colfax as well. So just very excited. Thank you all so much for all of your work, and I strongly support moving this forward.
Thank you, committee members, and I kind of piggyback off of them as well. As I'm glad to see this is moving forward and a great opportunity for us. And thank you all staff too for being diligent and resourceful as well. So I appreciate that. So we'll move it forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next agenda item 4B is annual recreation customer service survey.
Yes, good morning. My name is Jessica Bixman. I'm the manager of marketing and communications for Pros. And this morning I'm going to be giving you a little overview of the survey results from a customer satisfaction survey that we hosted in December at a few of our recreation centers. Next slide, Lauren. So we created this survey to collect feedback on some of our current offerings, future wants and needs for general recreation services and programming, and also to gauge interest on various types of childcare needs for our current users. We had the survey open for 1 month from December 1st through December 31st. We offered it at 3 recreation centers, Central, Morehead, and Southeast. We also offered it in both English and Spanish. And there was an option to take a digital survey or to do a written survey and fill it out in person at the center. During that month we had it open, we had an awesome response of 723 total responses and lots of great feedback. Next slide. So we asked our customers about how we were doing in a total of 6 categories, and overall what we saw was really positive across all 3 centers. As you'll see in this slide, 98% rated customer service and staff both as excellent or very good across all centers. Programs had an excellent or very good rating at 90%, and users were also able to provide us comments on what type of programming they'd like to see in the future, and I'll cover that in a later slide. Next slide, Lauren. What we saw was that overall users were really satisfied with our facilities, as well, with a 92% rating in cleanliness at excellent or very good, and also a 95% rating for safety at excellent or very good. Next slide. And for overall satisfaction, 97% of users at Central, Morehead, and Southeast rated their overall satisfaction as excellent or very good. And a lot of the comments that received also reflected these results, complimenting staff, the centers, and also the programming offered. Next slide. We received lots of great compliments on our programming, especially for some of our instructors. the most frequent comment we got for Central was specifically about basketball. Comments about increasing the amount of gym time dedicated to basketball, offering more structured programs and leagues. There was also some significant interest in drop-in volleyball and indoor soccer. A number of users suggested more aquatics, water aerobics classes, offering them at different times. There was a few comments about expanding programs for older adults at the center and including some additional classes for older adults as well. Central was the only center that really had any mixed comments about hours. Majority of the comments suggested opening earlier and staying open later on the weekends. But we also had conflicting comments that talked about suggesting that we reduce our hours and close earlier. The want and need for basketball programming was emphasized again in the additional comment section with comments about additional basketball courts. We also had some comments about updating fitness equipment, adding additional pieces. And there was lots of comments complimenting staff, front desk staff, fitness and training staff. And the graph here just shows the breakdown of the 6 customer satisfaction categories that are specific to the Central Recreation Center. Next slide, Lauren. For Morehead, aquatics programming for all ages was one of the most popular comments we received. Comments about swim lessons and water aerobics, interest in yoga, tai chi, boxing, and martial arts. A lot of comments suggested programming for youth that would fall under the category of youth violence prevention, free after-school programming, peer watch, drug and alcohol education, those types of classes. Basketball was also another popular comment, again, specifically adult leagues, which is something that we saw with Central as well. And there was also a little interest in pickleball. Overall, comments on the hours were in favor of expanding, both opening early and staying open later. And the majority of the additional comments we received were, again, just commending staff for how great they are. A lot of users, specifically in this survey, said they go to Morehead because of staff and how welcoming the environment is there. Next slide. For Southeast, again, basketball came up in our comments. There was interest in basketball, both organized drop-in for youth and adults. In the field house specifically, there were suggestions for flag football and lacrosse, an interest in increasing pickleball hours, adding tennis as well. There was an interest in additional fitness classes. And similar to Morehead, we saw comments about hours, open earlier, stay open later, comments about expanding basketball and pickleball times in the gym specifically. And then again, a large number of comments complimenting staff. And hours, as far as hours go, which is in the next slide, Lauren, majority of the users were happy with the hours at all 3 centers. Of the comments that we received that weren't satisfied, as I mentioned, their comment was to either open earlier or stay open longer. Next slide. We asked a question about communication and how our customers prefer to receive their information from us. 57% preferred to receive pros communication by direct email. Next slide. And the second half of the survey was specifically about childcare services. So we asked users if they would be interested in any form of childcare at our facilities. 11% of participants responded that they would be interested in childcare. The highest interest was at Morehead, with 15% of total users being surveyed having interest in childcare there. And then the chart on the right shows the breakdown of interest by type within that 11% that said they would be interested. Before and after school care had the most interest, followed by daycare, parent-child drop-in programs, and then occasional child drop-off. Next slide. Then we started to ask some more detailed questions about The types of childcare of the participants who gave ages of their children, we saw that the greatest interest in childcare was for their preschool aged children. And about 42% of participants said they'd be willing to pay less than $10 per child per hour for childcare services. 31% would be willing to pay between $10 and $20. Next slide. And these are just some comments we received, additional comments about childcare services and needs. They're all listed here on the slide. We didn't receive a ton of comments in this section, but a recurring theme, of course, was affordability for this service. And next slide, I believe that wraps up the survey. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jessica, for the presentation. Councilmember Murillo, any questions?
No questions for me.
Councilmember Coombs?
Yes, I guess just on the childcare component, since there were a lot of folks specifically at Morehead that have that interest, I know we have other, city daycare and childcare facilities. Is there any conversation about looking at providing that service at Morehead based on the survey responses?
This is Brooke Bell. It is a good question. Right now, what I'm looking at is, well, with Morehead, the challenge is that we don't have a space dedicated to childcare. We have the Parkview room, which is offsets the kitchen, which is a meeting space. And then we have another area at the front of the center near the parking lot. And that is not set up for childcare either. So Morehead is more of a challenge because of the layout of the facility and the facility itself. It's something we could discuss internally. If there are, yeah, we could have a discussion. I could have a discussion with his staff and see what their thoughts are and explore it, but it is a challenge. And then with regard to the other two centers, we do have child watch areas. One of the things that staff are working on for me right now is at Central, could we do a pilot for child watch? And the reason we chose that is for the times of the year that the kids are out of school, we have free services at our rec centers. So we still have the centers open for free for youth during their spring and fall breaks, their winter break, and the summer break. One of the barriers that has been discussed in the past is if some of these teenagers or youth are responsible for caring for younger siblings, they may not be able to take advantage of that free programming. And so what we'd like to do is develop again, a pilot, which would help with the younger siblings that they might be responsible for during the summer or these breaks, and find an affordable rate. Capacity might be an issue for us, where it's not a barrier for those older siblings to come to the center. So we're looking at that. And in combination with one more try on drop-in child watch for the folks working out at the center. It is our largest, at Central is our largest space for child watch. Child watch space at Southeast is quite small. And so we're developing that pilot idea and would want to roll that out after we finish that up. So that's, I'd be happy to bring that, have staff bring that back to the advisory board to look at that.
Can I ask just another question, Councilmember Medina? Okay,
Yes,
and then at Central, as you're aware, we've had some public comments about the hours. as well as obviously there were some mixed comments on the hours. Have there been any considerations, or since it was kind of imbalanced and on multiple sides of the issue, is the decision more so like we're gonna keep it how it is because we can't really please everyone since people have contradictory desires?
Yeah, the hours are challenging, and we did expand the hours at Central a while back. We went back to an early opening based on that feedback from members that came to council during the public to be invited to be heard. And we also we spend a lot of time with staff talking about hours because that's the other side of the equation. What are staff capable of doing, willing to do? So we're trying to find that balance between offering our services and also making sure that we can provide staffing for those extra hours. And we feel like we're in a really good spot. And I would say, while we had some input in this survey, I was surprised that, that the numbers are really they're quite high in our favor. So for now, I don't have a plan to adjust hours.
That's it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, I've just got a couple of questions too. So I'm just curious, why was Beck not part of this? Because I know it's another big center. Why was that not was surveyed?
Well, that's a really good question, and I'm not. No, that's a really good question, and we can go out and do a survey. We could do a survey. I just now that I think about it, what were we were focused on? Yeah, no, that's a good question. We were really focused on the big three. So, but
Yeah, I was just curious because I mean it's got
yeah,
fairly comparable, spaces and stuff, and I know they have the childcare and
yeah.
they have a gym and
No,
those
Beck
other
is a little
pieces.
challenged right now. We've had some mechanical issues over there that we've been working through. And I think you all were aware of the gas line leak, and we've had some, yeah, we have a recent water
I know
leak.
it's an old facility, so
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
know from my times there that
No, but
it's always had
it's a
issues.
good question, and we could look at, I'd like to get through some of the mechanical issues and then go back and revisit that. I think it would be great to do that in the spring.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Councilmember Medina.
and I know to the basketball thing, I know that's a question I've heard from staff as well, is that I wished we would have done like at Morehead and just made a gym and a half, because I think that extra space definitely comes into play. I think there may be some other options I think we can talk about. Uh, I've got some options that we can maybe look at in the future. I've got a guy that is interested, and maybe this is something we can do at some of the tennis courts during the time when it's colder. And maybe we can pilot this. I've got a gentleman who owns an artificial turf business, and he is willing to look at some of our courts and retrofit them with, the kind of like the plastic that they do, like the domes that they use to cover outdoor facilities. That he's willing to donate all of that stuff to try that, and maybe we could pilot that to create more space at some of those places that maybe people could. Maybe we have portable basketball hoops or something there where they could do it during the winter time as well as opposed to other things. It could be soccer or whatever there may be. So I'll try to get a meeting with you, Miss Bell, and him, and see if we can figure out maybe try something.
Thank you.
All right. No further questions. Thank you all staff for everything. Appreciate it. Next agenda item. Yeah. The 2023 PFLQ item recap.
I believe
Oh.
this was just going to be backup, no presentation.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
if you all have any question, I'd be happy to address any of the items.
Okay. Any questions from committee members?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember Murillo.
Yeah, I thank you for including this. I'm curious of these agenda items from last year, which ones do you all expect that we'll bring back or that we should bring back? I think some of these were probably more one-off items, but just trying to get a sense of the workflow for this year.
So we have our work plan for the next 4 months. I haven't tied it back to this. I'll certainly go back and look at this, but you're correct. A lot of this was one-off items. And so I can go back and look at this and compare to our work plan. And if there are items that we need to pull into the work plan, we certainly can do that. And we can share, and I'm going to actually share here in the next item what's for the next meeting. So we have a plan through April right now.
Brooke, if I can chime in here. So Councilmember Murillo, there are several major initiatives that PROS will be bringing forward back to the committee, and those include the PROS master plan that will be moving through City Council here in the next couple of months for formal approval. The second, and it's actually listed on the screen, is the 2024 medians, and obviously that ties in with the water conservation program and the efforts that PROS is doing in partnership with Aurora Water. And then the third is the financial feasibility work that PROS has been undertaking on recreation. And at a study session, it's been about a couple months now, PROS came forward and presented the framework to council, which council endorsed to take the next step and further refine and work through that for recreation. So those are just several large initiatives that PROS will be working through and bringing forward to you through this committee and then to the broader council once and if we receive obviously endorsement to move forward from the committee.
Great. Just to follow up, Councilmember Medina.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, that's great. And I remember we pulled out the dog park study. Can you remind me where we're at on that one?
Nicole, can you speak to the dog park study?
Yes, absolutely. Staff are currently wrapping that up, and we'd be happy to bring that back in the next couple of months. Yes, we had some new staff join us and had to get up to speed, and so we're in the home stretch of finalizing that document.
Okay, I would just ask for that to come back.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from Councilmember Murillo?
None at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Coombs?
Nothing from me.
All right. Yeah, nothing from me as well. So we'll move forward. Thank you. Now we have miscellaneous matters for consideration. Anything? Seeing none, and topics for next month's meeting.
The topics for next month's meeting will be bringing back our turf conversion plan for 2024. We'll be bringing in the medians for 2024 as well. And then the PROS master plan approval that Laura mentioned earlier. And then we have an IGA approval for Great Outdoors Colorado, the Generation Wild program. So those will be coming back in February. And then March, we're looking at the Colorado Freedom Memorial Concessionaires Agreement, High Plains E470 Trail Maintenance IGA, that is expiring, and so we do need to revisit that. We're also will be bringing back the business plan for, or not bringing it back, but we'll be bringing in a business plan for Southeast Recreation Center Fieldhouse. And then fee recommendations based on the financial sustainability plan that was reviewed with council earlier or late last year. And that would be March. And then we'll start building out. We have some things in April and we'll continue to build out our calendar. We'd be happy to share that as we go.
All right. Any other questions from committee members? All right. Thank you, staff. And if not, we'll adjourn the meeting. I'll see some of you here in a bit.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Bye-bye.
good day. Bye.
Have a good day.